royal fans came from everywhere.
We are from Vancouver Island.
Woohoo! Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner.
To toast Prince Harry and Meghan.
That's really nice. He brought me specially here for the wedding because of our anniversary.
They're not just celebrating a love story, but a modern love story.
The younger princes are bringing the family into the 21st century, and it's the best thing they can ever do.
People assume that you should stay with your race, and now it's just like, it doesn't matter.
For mother and daughter, Merle and Marnie Parker of Hamilton, Ontario, it's a dream to be in Windsor.
I can't wait, really.
Merle never thought she'd see the royals in person, but then came a surprise.
The trip was a gift from my boss.
Must be pretty thankful.
Very thankful, very grateful.
Thanks to that gift, her mom was able to retrace her steps back to Windsor Castle, but this time her photos aren't in black and white.
To be a Canadian, to share my life with the Commonwealth, I feel as British sometimes as I do Canadian.
The atmosphere is pretty electric here. There is so much energy, despite the fact that some people have been camped out here since Wednesday.
That's my bed.
This is a breakfast.
And that's my breakfast.
Not running on a lot of sleep, but when the crowds finally got a glimpse of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, they were wide awake and in some cases teary-eyed.
It's just something. It really is. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It just is something. There. I'm done. I'm done.
She'll have a story to tell her grandchildren about a modern love story that is just beginning.
Good morning, my name is Dorsey Atkinson, and I'm the pastor here at Life Spring Church, and I know it's Memorial Day, but we're going to talk, if you'll turn that down just a little bit on me. We're going to talk about some things today, but I put this video up of the royal wedding. Now, does everybody know there was a royal wedding a week or so ago? Is everybody aware of that? Okay. Did anybody see the wedding? I just want to see if anybody saw it. Did anybody see it on replays? All right, saw something on replays or something. So, does anybody know who got married? Who? You just keep answering. So, who, Ronnie? Who got married? Your girlfriend, Meghan. And it wasn't to you, right? And so Meghan Marley, how you say your name? Markle? Meghan Markle married Prince Harry. Now, Prince Harry is the son of Prince Charles and Princess Diana, which how many of you years ago saw that wedding or seen anything about it, okay? Some of us showing our age there, and it was spectacular. And so this is the second child of Princess Diana to be married. He is the grandson of the King of England, which means he is somebody. And so in this whole event of this marriage or this wedding, it was a big spectacle. I was watching the NBA playoffs, okay? And Jeff Van Gundy is a coach, and they were joking with him during one of the commentary sections of saying something along the lines, Jeff got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch the wedding, you know? And it's like, and this coach that's coached in the NBA basketball, like, well, sure I did. And actually, it was a very big thing, and it was very good, and I enjoyed it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and actually parts of it brought a tear to my eye. You know, and he was just expressing himself right there and just telling him how he felt about this, but it was very meaningful. And many people, as you saw in that video clip, thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands people lined the area to get what? Just a glimpse of this spectacular event. And there's a part where after they married, they come out of the chapel and they ride in the open carriage. The Cinderella story, I mean, it's not a pumpkin in Cinderella, like that, but it's a carriage with the horsemen and the footmen and the guy, all of the stuff. The other horseback riders are in front of the carriage and the white horses, and they got their little plumes on their head, and they're trotting along, and you hear the clippity-clop on the side. And people are straining, and you can see, matter of fact, do we have some pictures of that? Do we have some still pictures of video? See the crowds? Look at that. Is that crazy? And look at all the police and the people. Give me another slide there and look at that. Look, this is a shot. Now, I don't know how far this person is, but this woman up here in the blue, do you see her up there in the top? She's got the best shot, I think, don't you? She is up above everybody else, and she's looking, but look at all the cameras. I can't get my eyeballs there if I'm going to take a picture of that. And this was meaningful. They said people slept out for this just to see this moment that they passed by wherever they were. We got another video. I want to show you this video.
That was absolutely glorious. It really was beautiful. To be a part of history, to see that up close like that, she was absolutely radiant. She was sparkling. Harry just looked so happy. Just you could see the joy in his eyes. We were this close, and it was just wonderful.
This is one of the ones that I got that I'm really happy with. Look at my hand; it's shaking. I can't even hold still right now. That's just one that I just quick grabbed and enlarged a little bit. Oh my God, I just don't know what I'm feeling. It was like watching the ceremony was unbelievable. She was so beautiful and elegant and regal.
It was fantastic. It was wonderful.
Great.
Yeah. We had the perfect spot. Yeah.
It was perfect here. We couldn't have asked for better. It was worth sleeping on the sidewalk last night for the first time.
So Meghan Markle came down the long walk, and I personally made eye contact with her, and it was thrilling because I got to wave, and it's just everyone's so happy, and we're happy for her, and she just looked so beautiful. So it was a really good experience, and I will cherish it forever, personally. So
it was beautiful. She looked beautiful today, and I got a video. She made eye contact with my friend. I'm still shaking. I'm so excited, and we just saw them go into the castle. It was just a beautiful day.
I thought it was so nice, and I thought it was really nice how Charles walked her down the aisle because her dad couldn't be there, and it was such a nice wedding, and I loved everything about it. It was so cute.
The one person, it was worth sleeping out all night to see this. You're with me? The one person said, she made eye contact with me. How do you get eye contact out of this, you know? And then the girl said, she made eye contact with my friend, and my life has changed forever. It's just, I just don't know. Words, I can't even get words out of my mouth. I'm just so excited. Can you imagine what that feels like? Can you imagine? Here. Let me just give you an example. All right, everybody ready? Everyone, look at my hand right here. Everybody see my hand? You can leave that picture up, Emily. Everybody see my hand right here. You see it? Now I want you to follow my hand. Ready, set, go. And stop. That's how long they saw the prince and the princess come by. In the little carriage, that's how long it took. They waited hours and days. People took airplane trips and flew there to be there for that moment to see this part. And then, did you catch what they're saying? We made eye contact. Now I'm sitting there, I'm sort of being a little facetious and joking a little bit, but it was meaningful. Do you think that was real to that person? Do you understand that and it's meaningful, possibly even life-changing. I went to this royal wedding. I saw it. Could you imagine being one of the hundreds of thousands of them, how many billions of people there are in the world? I was there and saw that. And here's the picture to see it. You see, I think in a similar way, people in this room and in this world want to see Jesus as bad as this, or worse. I think people want to see and encounter Jesus in this way. Just see him. Just get a glimpse of him. Just have this personal moment in a sea of so many people that it's me and Jesus. And we make eye contact. But the question becomes to me is, how do I get the opportunity to do that? Last week we began this message series on an inviting life, and we were talking about several ways that we saw in the story of Pentecost in the book of Acts of how people were able to have an encounter with Jesus, an encounter with God, a personal encounter, and the things that were involved that were, if you will, barriers to keeping them from doing that and how they overcome those. And so today we're going to talk about just one of those barriers, one of those things that can keep you from hearing from God, from allowing God to help you bring clarity into a confusing life. So many of us have confusing things going on in our life. We got chaotic stuff going on in our world, and we know that we need God. We know that we need Jesus, but we're just not sure what we need to do to obtain that. So today, we're going to handle one of those things. And here's the one thing that we have to do, and we can take a lesson by this royal wedding. You have to, and I have to, put ourselves in the right place to encounter or to see Jesus or to encounter Jesus. You've got to be in the right place. Now, for many of us, the right place was in front of our TV at 6 o'clock in the morning on that Saturday morning. But for others, the encounter was personal, that they went to the spot. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there's this thing, if you want to see Jesus, if you and I want an encounter with Jesus, we have to have a responsibility to put ourselves in the right place. They had to choose where they were going to line up for the procession. Like, I think that's a good spot. No, this would be a better spot to see him. I could get a better picture from here. Or I'm one thinking, this is a curve. When they go around the curve, they'll have to slow down, so I have a longer time to see them. So I'm strategically figuring, where do I want to be? I'm strategically thinking, well, there are other people that will get out there at 6 o'clock to stand and wait in line, so I'm going to get out there at 5 o'clock. In fact, I'm not worried about people being out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm just going to spend the night, put my stuff there, bring some food there, and I'm going to hold my spot because I don't want to miss this opportunity. And there's people, if they knew where the right place was or how to get to the right place, they would do it in a heartbeat, but they just don't know. They don't know how to put themselves in the right place to see or encounter Jesus. So today, that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to answer that question. We're going to try to cover some things today that will help you and help me put ourselves in a position where we can see Jesus, encounter Jesus, and possibly have a life-transforming encounter. So the story I'm going to use today is a similar story in the Bible. It is not a parable. It is a story. It is an actual narrative story that happens of a description of what was going on in an encounter that Jesus had and a person had with Jesus. A parable would be something where it's like we make it up. It's like it's not a real story, but it proves a point, and so I can illustrate the point. You know, fables are things like that. But this is an actual story. This is actual people. It's actual things. It's like, you know, the difference in watching Star Wars, which is not, I hate to say this, it's not real. There's some good lessons and some good things in it. But then watching something like a real life action that's based on a true story. You understand what I'm saying? So here's the true story. In Luke verse 19, I'm going to read you this story. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. Now let me set this up and tell you a little bit. Jericho is this town to the, I think it's south of Jerusalem. It's a town that is known for many things, but the current part, when Jesus was coming through there, it was a broken down town. And let me tell you why. Jericho, several hundred or 1,000 years earlier, when not 1,000, but the Israelite nation came out of captivity from Egypt. And when they passed through the Jordan River into the Promised Land, this Promised Land that God had promised them, Jericho was the first town they came to. But the problem was Jericho had these huge walls that had never been penetrated. No one could ever get through these walls. And so the Israelites are going, well, you've pulled us through this desert, 40 years of wandering around. Now we're in the Promised Land. look how big this is. And God, through this miraculous thing of having these people do certain things like walk around the wall so many times, blow their horns over a 7-day period, the walls of Jericho came a-tumbling down and would never be rebuilt. And I can tell you, I've been there twice in my lifetime. Several years ago, I went there to visit. They are not there. There's rubble, there's excavation that they've done to show parts of the stones, but they have not rebuilt that. And because the history behind that says if anyone tries to rebuild this, it'll be at the cost of their first son or firstborn. If they try to rebuild it again, it'll be at the cost of their second, and so forth and so forth. This was this curse, I guess, God had put, and they were people living there. This is the Jericho that Jesus was about to pass through. It was a place that was not only surrounded by broken walls, but full of broken people. Sounds like some of the places I've gone to in my life. I've been in places that are not the best of places. And you go in there and there's broken people. Maybe it's drugs, alcohol. It could be any type of thing that has broken them. It's abuse situations. It's people coming out of abusive marriages. It's people coming out of abusive relationships. It's people coming out of abusive job situations. And there's situations and places where the things just seem broken down. But yet that's where I live. And that's where I stay, in this state of chaos, in this state of brokenness, with no hope of building anything to survive. And this is where Jesus is passing through. It says in verse 2, it says, a man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. Please say that name with me, Zacchaeus. One more time, Zacchaeus. Spelling of it is hard, so if you get on the wheel of fortune, you better remember that because there's a lot of vowels in it. But Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector and was wealthy. We learned something about him. We get his name. What's his name? What's his job? Not just a tax collector, he's the chief tax collector, which that tells me there's some hierarchical system, and he's at the top of the hierarchy. Everybody else has one feather. He has a bunch of feathers. He's the chief. You with me? And so he's the chief tax collector, and in addition to that, he's doing pretty well. He's wealthy. Now, for many people, they would have believed that the way that he got his wealth was because he was taxing people and he was abusing the power. Now, remember, a tax collector in that day and time wasn't working for the Jewish nation. They were working for the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was the people who were persecuting and enslaving or controlling the Jewish people, not giving them freedoms. We talk about chiefs and anything like, things like that. They were living in a reservation, if you would. And like the Indians in the past, they put them on a reservation and they're controlled. You got freedom, but you really don't have freedom. You can go where you want to go, but you can't go anywhere outside of here. This was the life they were living. And the chief tax collector, tax collectors, would collect money from the people living in this dominated situation to fund paying for the people to dominate them. And they didn't like it. And so they enlisted local people and hired them to be the tax collectors, because we figure if it's one of you taking money from one of you, that's better than one of us taking money from one of you. But it didn't work that way, because the people taking the money were seen as terrible. They were the lowest of the low of the low of the totem pole of life. They were we hated them. People hated them. And this guy was the chief one. And he was wealthy, because what they would think for the people was like, okay, the king or the empire, the Roman Empire guy would say, hey, Joel, you're my chief tax collector. You get 10% out of those people. 10% I want you to tax. You got it? What's the number? And I want you to do it, but now look, stand up, Joel. Joel doesn't look like a bouncer in a bar. James, stand up. Now you see James? Now Joel's going to go up to James and tell him he needs to give him 10% of his money. How do you think that's going to go if he doesn't want to give it up? All right, so what we do is all of you stand up. Joel, these are my Roman guards. They're going to back you up. Anybody gives you any smack, any lip, send them on them. Now do you think he's going to do that? He's going to listen now. Y'all can sit down now, okay? You got it? So now they tell these tax collectors, this is the way it's going to be. So you're getting this in your mind? Now, Joel, you got to make a living for your life. You got a wife, you got kids, you got this all going on. Well, you're not married yet, but you're like planning this stuff out. You're a young man, you're planning this out, got a future. So you're like, well, hey, if he wants 10% and I got to get paid, I think I might need to get a big diamond ring, so I'm going to charge him 20%. And what they going to say about it? And I've been wanting that new car, so I might charge him 25% because I need a little bit extra on that. You understand? And so when they became wealthy, people took the impression that he's getting his wealth because of he's abusing the power that he's been given to persecute the people he's got. You tracking with me? This is yes. This is no. So okay, you with me? This is who this guy is. And it says that this guy that lives in this broken down town with the broken down walls, with a bunch of broken people, who's in charge of extorting money from the broken people to run the system to keep them in a broken state, he wants to see Jesus. What? Man, you better hang up you better go do something else because that ain't going to happen around here. You want to see Jesus? But he wants to see Jesus. Doesn't say whether he's a Christian, doesn't say whether he's a believer. He just wants to what? See Jesus. You put that back on the screen? He wanted to see Jesus, but he was, is it up there? He was what? He wanted to see Jesus, but he was, what's the word up there? Short. He was short. And he could not see over the crowd. You seen the picture of the crowd up there earlier? This woman, can you go back there? I'm sorry, Emily, but you see that woman? I don't think she's that tall. Do you? What do you think? She's sitting on somebody's shoulder? Right? So Zacchaeus is short. And you would think with all of his money, he could go up and say, hey, Lindsay, you've been standing on this front row and you slept out overnight. Here's $50. Can I have your spot? No. Well, Sandra, how about you? Here's $100. No, I stayed here all night. You're not going to get me there. Devin, here's $300. No. Joel, let me stand on your shoulders. No, if you stand on my shoulders, then I can't see. I'm here to see the same thing that you're here to see. All his wealth, all his power meant nothing in this situation. It meant nothing. He was just like everybody else. A broken person in a broken town with broken walls in a situation that's outside of his control. I didn't ask to be short. He could have quit his job. You understand what I'm saying? He could have said, I'm not going to do tax collecting. But you can't say, I've give up. I'm not going to be short anymore. God, I'm going to be tall. Now, I don't know about you, but I used to have these little comic books that I read when I was young, and they were in black and white, and we did have color ones. I just want to let you know it wasn't just always black and white in coloring books, okay, or in comic books. But they had these little ads in it. And some of the ads, because it was targeting young people, said, if you would like to grow 3 inches taller, you can send in your little card and send us, and we'll send you, for $10, we'll send you this peel that will make you taller. There was people who made money getting people to take a tall peel because they wanted it so bad. This guy, Zacchaeus, he can't get taller, so he has physical restraints that are outside of his control. He has perception restraints of what everybody else thinks he is, that he's a tax collector and all this. He's got all these things going with it. His money means nothing. I can't even get to the front to see it. He is in a broken state, in a broken town, in a broken nation, and in a broken place. And he's still bottom of the totem pole. He's still the low man. And so he's in this dilemma. And it says this, so he ran ahead and he climbed a sycamore tree to see him, to see Jesus, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, he is gone to be the guest of a sinner. Now you can hear him. Can't you? I mean, I cannot, my word. I've stood here all day long and he didn't make eye contact with me. And he goes and makes eye contact with this sinner. How dare he? I want to connect with this Jesus. And look, he's going to connect with this guy that is responsible for us being in this mess that we're in. And on top of that, he's short. And so he said, they talk about him. You know, people talk about us, don't they? People talk about others. People have drawn perceptions of you for years. Some think you're good. Some think you're a loser. Some think you got it all together. And some think you're as scattered as they come. In fact, some of those people are in our own family that thinks that. And what's even worse is some of us are married to those people that think that about us. But I'm not saying it's me, but I'm just... So they began to mutter, he's going to be a guest of a sinner. But Zacchaeus stood up and he said to the Lord, Lord, look here. Look, Lord, here and now I give half my possessions to the poor. And if I've cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. I just want to stop right there. I don't know what this eye contact means. I don't know how that woman felt. The princess looked at me and we had a moment. I don't think she went and sold everything she had and gave half her money to the poor because of that, because that was the princess's favorite charity. But in this one, that contact, that encounter with Jesus, connected it with something that was already in Zacchaeus. It was already there. It just came out and he says, I'll give half my money to the poor right now. Boom. Got it? And then he says, on top of that, if I've cheated anybody. Now, listen to his job, what his job was, right? There was potential to cheat. And people thought that. I'll pay back 4 times the amount. You with me? Now, I just want you to do some math real quick. Can we do some math? Do y'all mind? Are y'all having a good time right now? Let's do some math. You got $100. Joel, it's you. You're the guinea pig. I'm sorry. I don't mean to call you guinea pig. Don't take offense to that, but you are the chief tax collector. You got $100. You stand up. I love this man. You offer to give, what do you offer to give? How much? Half your money to them. Tell them what you're going to do. You're going to give what? To who? The poor. Tell them like you mean it. I'm going to give back $50 to the poor. All right. If he has $100 in his wallet, he gives out $50 to the poor. How much has he got left? $50, right? Now, he also makes the comment, what? Here I give half my possession. If I cheated anybody of anything, you read that, Joel, what will you do? I'll pay back 4 times the amount. 4 times the amount. If he's cheated any of you, stand up. Stand up, Betty. There you go. Look, stand up. Look. All right, man, people standing up over here. Look, y'all stand up. Wait a minute, stand up. All right, now that's it right there. If they were actually cheated, and he has to pay back 4 times the amount, you were cheated out of $10. How much you owe him? $40. She was cheated out of $10. How much you owe him? Her. How much that? He's $10. 40 more. And Preston's $10. So 40, 80, 120, 160. How much you got left in your wallet? You had 40, didn't you? You just went from 40, so now you $120 in the hole. Who does that? Do you think he did that? Y'all sit down. You sit down. Do you think he did that? Or do you think maybe he never cheated anybody to begin with? Maybe the perception of him, just because he's in a broken town, in a broken situation, in a broken place with broken people, and what seems to be a place that he could take advantage of people, maybe you've got the wrong perception of this guy. Maybe because he's got tattoos, an earring, a tongue ring, and this. Maybe because he's got 3 or 4 broken relationships in his life, you're making a wrong judgment on him. Maybe because he has a child out of wedlock. Maybe because he's slept around before. Maybe because he went to the strip bar in his past. You still think he's like that, and you have got a perception of him that is affecting you as well as him. He's willing to stand up and say, that's not who I am. You see me, but you don't see me. You've had encounters with me, but you haven't encountered me. This is the church today. This is the church today. This is the crowd. Do you know the thing about the crowd? Zacchaeus is short. Why can't he see Jesus? He's short. So what? Because the crowd's in his way. See, the people of the church, sometimes we're in the way of the people who just want to see Jesus, and we won't get out of their way. We won't move. It's not about taking a bribe. We have got so caught up about us making contact. Us, we've got an encounter with him. We don't worry about anybody else. And that's why the church and the people of the church continue to struggle with reaching and inviting people who aren't in the church to come and see Jesus, to come and have an encounter with Jesus. So Jesus hears Zacchaeus' words. Listen to what Jesus said. Jesus said to him, today, when did he say it was happening? Today, salvation has come to this house. Now, he's not only in the broken town with the broken walls, with the broken man, he's in the broken man in the broken town with the broken walls. He's in his house. And he's in the midst of money, because if he's got money, he's got a nice house, he's got this. But he's like, salvation has come to this house because this man is a son of Abraham. And the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. This man is one of you. This man is not, you're my flock, he is too. You're my sheep, he is too. This man is you. This man isn't apart from the crowd, he is a crowd. He is what the Son of Man came to seek and to save. You see, he's lost up in a sycamore tree, and you're lost right on the side of the road. The fact of the matter is, you both lost. You see, but you don't see. So, I come back to our point. The question that we were going to ask was, at the beginning of the day, was how can I put myself in the right place so I can have this encounter? I can see Jesus. How do I put myself in that right place? Turn to your neighbor and say, how do I put myself in that place? Turn to him. Now, Sandra's just talking to air right here. So, see, nobody, all those empty seats, and she's talking, and y'all ain't paying her no mind because you're her neighbor. You think 10 seats make a difference. No, that's still your neighbor. So tell her. Go ahead and tell her. Say, well, how can I put myself in the right place? See? You got it? Everybody with me? How can I put myself in the right place? So let's look at a couple things. First of all, we already realized Zacchaeus had a lot of obstacles that he had to overcome. Would you agree? He had to overcome the stigma of people, what they thought about him. He had to overcome physical things. He's short. I didn't choose to be short. I'm just short. Right? We don't choose to get cancer. We don't choose to get sick. We don't choose to have ailments. We don't choose to run into a car and have a wreck and we do this. Many of us don't choose to have these physical things happen to us. I didn't choose to have high cholesterol. I didn't choose to have high blood pressure. I didn't choose to have diabetes. There may be things I did that didn't help it, but I didn't choose it. You tracking with me? These are physical things that people have. I didn't choose to get old and feel my bones ache and creak in the morning when I want to help people, but I can't. I didn't choose to feel this way. I didn't choose to have this DNA in me that the way I was raised and brought up is I don't like to talk to people. I don't like to get out of my shell. I don't like to get out of my box. It's just who I am. I didn't choose that. It's just what I've become. All of these things are obstacles to people doing things. Zacchaeus had to overcome these obstacles. He had money. See, for some of us who are poor, we think if we have money, it would solve everything. Zacchaeus is going, I got all the money, and it didn't solve anything. See, all of these things are all these obstacles, these excuses to overcome. And Zacchaeus looked at that, and he could have done this. I come out, I want to see Jesus. We got it? We don't see Jesus. There's a lot of people. Well, let me go try to bribe my way to the front. That doesn't work. I go and I look around. I'm like, hey, will you let me get on your shoulders? That doesn't work. I still want to see him, but at that point, I'm going home. I tried a couple of things, and they didn't work. So I guess it's not meant for me to see Jesus. I guess it's not meant for me to have an encounter. Because I did try some things. I tried what I thought would work. So I go home. Now let's say that somebody went to go see the royal wedding procession. And they go up there and they see all the things, right? And they say, well, I'm going home. The once in a life, the historical moment they missed because of the obstacles. Zacchaeus could have been that person. But we learn about this guy's character. We learn about this desire. He wants this so bad. He wants this so bad. So what does he do? Here's the first thing. Write this down. Everybody write this down? Write this down. It's 2 words. Write this down. The number one thing that you have to do to get in the right place to encounter or to see Jesus is this. One thing, the first thing, show up. Show up. You can't encounter him if you don't show up. If it's obstacles, show up. He showed up. Let me tell you something. This saying is up on the whiteboard at my gym I work out at. Not every day is a good day. Show up anyway. Not every day is going to be a good day. Show up anyway. I don't want to work out today. I'm sore. I'm tired. Show up anyway. Because when you don't show up, you could be missing the very thing God wants you to see. Maybe God is looking for you to see what you will push through, what obstacles you're willing to overcome, how bad you want it, that you'll show up. Well, I came to church before. They treated me rudely. I ain't going back. And look at what you miss on. I went and served at the soup kitchen. I served 3 times at the soup kitchen. I don't feel any different, so I'm not going back anymore. I forgave that person. I forgave them after they treated me like this. I forgave my family for how they treated me like this. I ain't showing up no more. I'm not doing it. Sound familiar? Sound like something that could relate to you? Can anybody relate to any that I'm saying? Because how many times have we not showed up because of the obstacles? Or we show up, but we see the obstacles, then we turn around and we leave. See, we need to show up is number one. Number 2, it says in verse 4, it says, so he ran ahead, climbed a sycamore tree to see him, that Jesus was coming that way. So here's the next one. 3 words for number 2. Personally take action. Once you show up, personally take action. You can't get somebody else to do it for you. Here, Joel, you go to the soup kitchen for me. Here, Lindy, you go to the Bible study for me. I'm not going to go to Bible study. Hey, you go to the fellowship dinner. I'm not going to go to the fellowship. You go to church for me, and I'm going to stay at home and watch TV. How many couples in my life have I met and witnessed who do this? You go to church, and you take the children, and I'm going to stay at home. Maybe you come from that type of home. Maybe that's why you have the tendency to do some of the things that you do. You show up, the obstacle's too big, you go home. Or you stay, but you want somebody else to do it for you. You get me up to the front. You do something. But see, he didn't depend on others. He didn't depend on the others in the crowd. He did something about it. Now, when we were talking about this with the sermon prep team, Emily gave me a great example about this. She and I garden. We got little gardens and little plots of land. She got this new house, her and James, and she's getting a head start. When they get married, he'll move over there, but she's getting to every Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? But it's Emily, quite contrary, how do you... So anyway, she's got this garden going. And she made this comment. She could have put the garden anywhere in their backyard she wanted, right? But to put it in the right location, if she's going to put it down near the swamp, near the wet part, and tried to grow certain things, they wouldn't have grown in the swampy water. If she put it over in another area that was too much sun, it would have died and dried up. You understand? Or she puts it in another place that's too little sun. See, you could go work your garden patch wherever your garden patch is, but when you have a choice to put your garden patch somewhere, you need to put it in the right place. A lot of us in this room are working at a lot of things, and we're working really hard, and we're sweating, and we don't understand why things aren't growing. It's because we're not in the right place. We showed up, and we're there, but we're not taking the actions that are necessary to put us in the right place. We hang out with Christian friends. We read Christian blogs. but we don't behave like what we read or what we see. And unfortunately, we are referencing too many of what everybody else is doing and not doing what we see Jesus doing. See, who is Zacchaeus coming to see? Jesus. Wants to see Jesus. So we personally take action. We personally do the things. Listen, and then the third one, last one. Creatively use what God has provided you. Creatively use what God's already provided you. That tree had been there for years. Didn't sound like anybody else climbed that tree, did they? He creatively used a tree. He creatively used stuff to overcome these barriers. He had the foresight and everything. He's going this direction. I'm going to run down here. You with me? He's creatively using the tree. He could run. So he ran to get ahead. He didn't walk behind Jesus and think, well, I'll climb the tree after Jesus passes by. I'll see the back of Jesus. No, he went to get ahead of Jesus because I want to see him and encounter him as long as I can. Right? I used to climb a tree when I was a little boy. Anybody ever climbed a tree before? Anybody ever fell out of a tree? Anybody ever got your legs scraped up on the inside by the bark on the tree because you was climbing the tree? Or you understand what I'm saying? Did you ever think you could use that? Something, some skill, some things that you thought was childhood stuff, things that you loved as a child, to put you in this place so you could encounter Jesus. Some of you have a heart to do certain things that you love and certain things that you have fun at, and you never thought about using that to help put you in a spot to encounter Jesus. Some of you like to craft. Some of you like to cook. Some of you like to do various things, and you never think, what if I did that and expanded that and involved some other people to try to encounter Jesus around that? You use what you have. You quit looking at your limitations and you look at what you have, what God has provided, the resources that are all around you, that are available to everyone. But how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to see him? See, what we find is a lot about Zacchaeus. Number one, we find out he's not ruled by his wealth, right? He's willing to give half up to the poor. He's willing to save by cheating. He's not ruled by his wealth. His job wasn't his identity, right? Jesus didn't say, I'm just looking for a tax collector to come out. He didn't say, hey, tax collector, I'm coming to your house. What did he call him? Zacchaeus. He knows him by name. Zacchaeus looked ahead. He planned ahead. He thought ahead. He didn't let difficult things do. He was willing to show up, even when it was hard. He was willing to personally take action. And he was willing to creatively use whatever God provided for him. So what if you did that this week? What if you decided to show up? Stop making excuses. Stop looking at everything, and you decided to show up. I'm going to show up at my personal time with God, at my devotional time this week. I'm going to show up and spend some quality time with God. In 10 minutes, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to study, or I'm going to pray, or I'm going to spend some time with Jesus. I'm going to show up, and I might serve somebody in the community. I might reach out and help. I'm going to show up. I might encourage somebody. I'm going to show up. I might invite somebody that I've invited 25 times, but I'm going to invite them to come again. I'm going to show up despite being rejected in my past, but despite what everybody thinks that I'm just a broken person in a broken town, in a broken place, and my whole world's a mess. I'm going to show up. What if you this week decided you're personally going to take action? You're not going to depend on somebody else. You're not going to wait on somebody to call you. You're going to step up and you're going to take action. You're going to run ahead. You're going to climb the tree. Some of you teachers, you're about to have free time, and what you're thinking about is sleeping. And that's well and good. But after 2 days of sleeping, what you going to do? Sleep some more. Okay, I got you. Okay, but do you understand? Some of you have some time from students that don't have as many classes, even though they're common. Some of us have some time. Are you personally going to take action? Or are you going to let that opportunity go by? And then finally, creatively, use what God's provided you. Start looking in your cabinets. Start looking in the things that you like to do. If it's music, there you go, man. It could be gaming. You might like to do games. Heck, I don't know. Some of you may like to play those Pokemon things on your thing, and some of you might do like geocache. I don't know. Find something and creatively use what you've got and see if you can encounter God or encounter Jesus and see Jesus. Now, I just want to come back to this, and I promise I'm closing. I can look at my time. I know. Thank you for giving me the time to expand on this a little bit, but I want to drop this one in your lap and then go boom, because I don't think you see this. The problem in this story that we see begins at the very beginning, correct? Zacchaeus wanted to do what? One thing he wanted to do. What was it? Does anybody know? Say it out loud. He just wanted to see Jesus. And we said, in order to do that, he showed up, he personally took action, and he creatively used the stuff or what God provided for him, right? 3 things. But I want you to listen, as Paul Harvey would say, to the rest of the story that the world misses. I'm about to give you the nugget that will change your life forever. You ready? Are you ready? Last verse. Jesus said to him in verse 9, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham." Jesus saw Zacchaeus. But that's not the nugget. The next one is. For the Son of Man came to what? The Son of Man came to what? And save the lost. Zacchaeus thinks he's come to seek Jesus. Jesus has come to seek Zacchaeus. God has come to seek you. He has sent His Son, Jesus Christ, to seek you. Jesus Christ didn't do it from heaven. He came to earth and He showed up. And He showed up on this earth in human form. And despite the obstacles that was in front of Him, He personally took action. He came to earth. God's one and only Son. So Zacchaeus could see Him? No, so he could see Zacchaeus. So he could see you. And He creatively used what God has provided, even when it was 12 knucklehead disciples. Even when one of them would betray Him, He used exactly what God had provided for him. You want to feed 5,000? We just got fishes and loaves. No problem. I'll use what God's given us. We'll do it. You see, this story is about a relationship. See, and go back to Harry's picture if you can. The crowd. You see, Harry, and what's her name again? Megan? They're looking, but they ain't looking. They thinking about what's next on the agenda. You understand? Now, y'all thinking the honeymoon, I know. But they're thinking about, man, I got to get out of this carriage, I can't mess my dress up, yada, yada, yada. They ain't looking, but they're not looking. The crowd is looking at them on that relationship. The difference in our story, Zacchaeus, you and me, we're all seeking Jesus. We're all seeking that encounter. And that's what He came for. To seek you, to seek you, to have an encounter. That's His purpose. And when we both lock eyes, life change happens. Your confusing world will be less confusing. The hate in your life will be reduced and replaced with love. The discouragement that you have will be replaced with hope of the possibilities of what could be. That's why it's important for us to do everything we can to be in the right place, to see and encounter Jesus. So that's your challenge this week, to go out and some way, somehow show up, to go out and personally take action, and to creatively use what God has provided for you, and then put yourself in the right place to see Jesus, because He's looking for you. Let's pray.